to the glory of God and in memory of the 1.3 million American patriots who've sacrificed their life in the field of battle. In our short 249-year history, 1.3 million American patriots have sacrificed their life in defense of our liberties and supporting our Constitution of the United States. From the fields of Lexington and Concord, to the shores of Tripoli, to the heat of Veracruz, Mexico, to the well-known country battlefields in our own land of Sharpsburg, Gettysburg, and Spotsylvania, to the World War trenches in the Ardennes forest, to the steep slopes of Normandy, to the Korean War, to the war that touches very close to many of us here, the Vietnam War, and more recent battles and wars in the desert of Iraq, the streets of Fallujah, the Hindu Kush Mountains, and the Helmand River Valley of Afghanistan. No other country in the history of the world has sacrificed so much and paid such a great cost to defend our God-given rights. In my short time here this morning, I wish I could speak about all 1.3 million, but I cannot. In fact, I cannot even speak about 10, but I can speak about one. Jacob Ross was born on May 13th, 1990, in Jacksonville, North Carolina, to parents Dennis and Karen. His father was a machine gunner in the United States Marine Corps when he was born. Shortly thereafter, they moved to Gillette, Wyoming, where Jacob grew up. Being from Wyoming, he loved the outdoors of hunting and fishing. He excelled in carpentry and in construction. And in 2008, he graduated from Campbell County High School. And just like his father, he raised his right hand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and entered the United States Marine Corps. I first met Jacob in the summer of 2009 at a training exercise at Camp Lejeune. And just like all young United States Marines, he was confident, arrogant, hard-nosed, physically fit, and determined. Exactly what the traits you need to make Marines indestructible in combat. Just a few short months later, the Marines of Weapons Company 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, average age 21, deployed to Helmand River Valley, Afghanistan, to a place called Lackey. And early in January of 2010, after a nighttime infiltration, we established a patrol base in a mud-walled compound with no running water, no electricity, no amenities of any sort. With a few thousand sandbags and some camionetting, we made it our home for the next 6 months. Marines living and fighting like Marines have done for the last 250 years. Every morning, Marines would get up, eat a small breakfast, usually from a care package back home, get their gear and equipment ready, and go on long-distance patrols to keep the enemy out of our area and to protect the local populace. It was on one of these mornings, around 5 in the morning, where I observed a singular Marine shivering in the cold, sitting at a picnic table, eating his breakfast by himself. I walked over there, and there's Jacob Ross. He was up 2 hours earlier because he stood the watch while the rest of the Marines slept. And for the next 30 minutes, Jacob and I talked about life. He told me about how he missed his parents back home in Wyoming, his love of hunting and fishing, how he wanted to pursue a life in construction upon getting out of the Marine Corps in several years. But most of all, he wanted to talk to me about his young wife, Brittany, who he had just married 2 weeks prior to deployment. And he talked to me about the life that he envisioned with her in the next several years. Later that day, Jacob, along with around 85 other Marines, participated in an 8-kilometer long-range patrol with heavy kinetic activity, constantly pushing the enemy out, long-range gunfights. And 4 kilometers into that patrol, the platoon commander, Lieutenant Christopher Hannafin, called a predetermined halt at our acts of advance to refit, rest, and recover. And it was there that I turned around and I was walking the lines. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jacob Ross, Lance Corporal Jacob Ross, 19-year-old, the embodiment of the servant who serves this nation. He was a little scared that he shouldn't be sitting in that position. And I said, stop right there. I want to capture this photo. I thank the Lord that I was able to pull my phone out and take a picture of Jacob Ross. It's a photo that I consult often to recalibrate, to refocus, and to motivate me in my life's endeavors. I will cherish it forever. Not 1 month later, less than 1 kilometer away from where this picture was taken, Jacob Ross, along with the platoon commander Christopher Hannafin, and many others, including Lance Corporal Sean Warren, like many other days, were engaged in a heavy firefight against enemy insurgents. And it was there, an insignificant hovel on a small ridge line, where Lance Corporal Jacob Ross, who was literally at the feet of his platoon commander, engaging the enemy, was struck in the face by a 7.62 millimeter bullet fired from an enemy AK-47. Like most headshots in combat, the destruction was immediate. And there, no matter the immediate response of Christopher Hannafin, Sean Warren, or Doc St. Pierre, they could do nothing to save the life of Jacob Ross. There in the field of battle, insignificant piece of terrain in the middle of southern Helmand River Valley, Afghanistan, Jacob Ross joined the 1.3 million of American patriots who have given their life in defense of this country. Jacob Ross is buried in Mount Pisgah Cemetery in Gillette, Wyoming. We honor him today. So the question I have for you is today, here at Pickens First Baptist Church, what about you? What does this mean to you? What does the sacrifice of Jacob Ross mean to you, and what can you do about it? May I offer up 3 simple recommendations. They're very easy to remember and understand. They deal with the past, present, and the future, and they all start with the letter R. First of all, we must remember. We must do everything in our power to remember the service and sacrifice of those who have defended the Constitution and provided us with the God-given liberties that we have. If you have any question about where to start, what I encourage you to do is walk 250 meters to the Pickens County Courthouse and look at the war memorial there and pick a name on that wall and own it. Figure out who they are, what they did, their parents, their brothers and sisters. There's even members in this very church whose family members are on that wall. Including Dwight Buddy Gilstrap, who was killed on 28 April 1967 after being in Vietnam for less than a month. The brother of David Gilstrap, my father-in-law. Better yet, I encourage you over the next several months to take a trip, 8-hour trip to Washington, D.C., and go to Arlington National Cemetery and get up early before anybody else gets there and walk to Section 60 and look at the thousands of graves from Iraq and Afghanistan. Read the names, look at the ages, and think about the trauma, the mothers back home, the wives back home, the children back home without a father, the families that were never more, and remember them. Number 2, raise. Make no mistake about it, you Christians here today, worshiping at Pickens First Baptist Church and through churches throughout the United States of America, you are the remnant. You are the remnant assigned by God to protect and defend our Constitution, our God-given rights. We must do all we can to stand up and fight and raise our generation, the next generation, to defend the liberties that we have. We have no choice. In this very service, I think of the example of Miss Lynn Williams. Who raised her son in a godly family, Chase, and who was willing to raise his right hand, who recently joined the United States Marine Corps and graduated boot camp, is now at Camp Lejeune serving this country in the mission field of the Marine Corps. Thank you, ma'am. We must raise a generation who can hear the Lord when he calls and answer him. Whom shall I send, and whom will go for us? And may they answer, here am I, Lord, send me. And finally, number 3, we must resolve. We must resolve. 159 years ago, our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, on November the 19th, 1863, stood on the field of battle at Gettysburg, 4.5 months after 52,000 casualties on that 3-day field of battle, 10,000 of which were killed. And he gave his infamous Gettysburg Address. And the concluding remarks say this: "We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, and that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. We here highly resolve." And here's what I recommend to you, and this is what I've done in my own life. We must highly resolve to never allow anyone in Washington, D.C. to send our young men and women to combat without truly knowing the cost and knowing for a fact that it deals with supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States of America. And we must know the cost that it's going to have against whatever foreign country that is. The current war cry coming out of D.C. is we have to go to war with Iran. We must invade Iran and bomb it in oblivion, put all our forces there, and start another endless war in the Middle East. As scholars of the Bible, you know that this is ancient Persia. Ancient Persia is the book of Daniel, of Esther, and of Ezra, and of mighty Nehemiah. Indeed, the population of Iran right now is 90 million people. In Christian lingo, that's 90 million souls for whom Christ died. And before we go anywhere and start any war, we must truly resolve to hold those accountable and understand what the cost is. Never again. I conclude you with this. My prayer is the same prayer as Jeremiah. In Jeremiah chapter 3, may the Lord give us shepherds, leaders after his own heart, who will lead with knowledge and with understanding, for the glory of God and in memory of the 1.3 American Patriot dead.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Powerful, and thank you for your service as well. Many of you in our congregation today have family members who have given their very life for our country. I'd like to ask you to stand, if you would, at this time, please. Would you stand? Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. And we all know that Christ is